Welcome back to the program, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, are you guys hungry? Because I'm not after watching this movie. We're talking about 2013's The Green Inferno, Eli Roth's homage to the Italian cannibal genre. I'm Dusty Lane.
I'm Nick Cummins.
And I'm Jason Mitchell.
And we are the Cinebytes.
Hello.
I came for you. We have such sights to show you.
It was an excellent day for an exorcism.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
Play me.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was. This is God.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
But sometimes that is better.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. And of course, as always, welcome to Oblivion. Thank you for joining us once again. And let's just get into it, man. We're talking about The Green Inferno, which is sort of a continuation of Cannibal Holocaust from 1980, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Jason, this is your wheelhouse. You're going to be kind of guiding us through
Right.
this.
Now, it kind of comes off like it's a continuation. It's really hard to say. It's definitely his tribute to it, if anything. A lot of similarities between the two.
Right.
So,
It seems like it's, obviously a similar universe sort of a deal. We're back in Peru, back in the Amazon. We're dealing with a tribe and all that stuff. So definitely similarities. You had me watch the Cannibal Holocaust recently, actually.
right.
And that was probably enough for me. I don't know.
Yeah, these movies were really groundbreaking when they came out. A lot of controversy, a lot of people hiding their identities and stuff surrounding all of this. And Eli Roth just wanted to kind of pay a tribute to it. So this is what we got.
I think the realism of the first one sort of led to the director getting in some hot water, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, big time.
There's a little bit of a found footage thing going on. Some people were like accusing him of making a snuff film.
Right, yeah, they just couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't because of the animal cruelty and stuff
Sure.
like that. Kind of
Right.
blurred the line between, is this real? Is this not real? And then, there's realism to the whole thing about just there are cannibalistic tribes out there. You know what I mean?
Sure,
So it's...
Nick, initial reactions to this?
Well, I kind of went in expecting it to be more gross than it is. I mean, there were a couple scenes that made me squirm, but it wasn't anything like Hellraiser made me squirm. So
Yeah, honestly, it didn't quite reach that level, did it?
I think it's just because I think the part about Hellraiser that makes me squirm is the sexual side of it. And, it's like the carnal pleasure side, like that all just really weirded me out. And
That is what got to me more in that, I think, too, because it's just like dirty.
yeah, dirty is a great way to describe it.
It makes you feel gross.
Does make you feel gross. And this, it's like, well, not happening to me, so fuck it. Squeeze his eyeballs, do whatever you want. I thought, honestly, aside from the acting, like it was pretty crazy, it was a good movie. I was in this.
Initially, I wasn't super excited to watch it either. There was one day where I kind of had it playing in the background while I was setting up some studio stuff here, and I got distracted with it a couple of times, just like, oh my God, this acting is so bad. I'm not excited to watch this movie and like put my full attention toward it, but it ended up being better than I gave it credit for. So, obviously didn't mind running through some of the deets on this movie here. Obviously, The Green Inferno from 2013, directed by Eli Roth, who is back on top at the moment. He's got that Thanksgiving movie coming out,
Right.
Which it will be out by the time this releases. Studio, we've got, it's another Blumhouse, go figure, BH Tilt specifically, and High Top Releasing are the studios and distributors here. It's 100 minutes on the dot. Rated R, obviously, because how could it fucking be anything else? our plot is basically fucking social activism runs afoul of cannibals. So some shit happens along the way. Let's find out what it is. I'm not sure what the initial setting here is. Like what city they're supposed to be in. Is it like New York or DC or something?
I'm really not too sure. I don't think I caught that. Just heavy college vibes, college campus.
But eventually we end up in Peru in the rainforest, obviously. Character list. Obviously, our main chick here is Justine, played by Lorenza Izzo. And then Alejandro, obviously, played by Ariel Levy. He's our social activism guy. He's the main man there. I liked Jonah a lot. Aaron Burns. I don't know. He was just a big fluffy teddy bear. He kind of he drew me in. I don't know. Maybe he was reminded me of myself.
I guess the only comforting part of the movie, maybe, you know what I mean, was him being kind of kind and whatever to Justine. So yeah, his character definitely stands out.
Yeah, because this movie is just like shitty person after shitty person aside from Justine and Jonah. And so it's just like I felt that connection with Jonah for that reason too.
Yeah, absolutely. Justine's bestie, Casey, played by Sky Ferreira. Nick, before we started recording, you were mentioning something about her. You said she's like an indie music person?
Yeah, so she did one of the themes in Edgar Wright's Baby Driver.
Okay.
I can't even think of the Easy Like Sunday Morning is the song title, but she just has like a really pretty voice, and we were just kind of chatting before we started recording, and I was like, yeah, no, she puts out some good stuff.
So it's a cover of the original,
yeah.
I'm easy.
Yeah, it's a cover.
Okay.
And I'm in the indie music scene, and she does really good stuff. So it was cool to see her in a movie. I was like, oh, hey, shit, there she is.
Cool beans. Some second string characters. We got Amy, played by Kirby Bliss Blanton. Lars by Daryl Sabara. Samantha is Magda Apanowicz. That's a very Polish name. Daniel Nicholas Martinez. Cara, who is Alejandro's super jealous girlfriend, played by Ignacia Alamand. Charles, who I believe is Justine's father, played by Richard Berge. And that about rounds out our character list. We don't really have... I mean, there's the tribe, but, there's a couple of standouts there with, like, the tribal elder and, like, the war chief guy. But, as far as our named characters here, that's about all we got. Quick mention for cinematography, which is pretty good in this movie, regardless of all the shit that we're going to talk about various points of it. Antonio Quercia. And then music by Manuel Rivero. Yeah. So, let's get into it, guys. When I first turned this movie on, for a second I was like, oh shit, did I accidentally put in Jurassic Park? Because it opens the same way. You just hear like the rainforest sounds going on, which is pretty cool. We have a little like father and son cannibal duo walking through, and he's like, showing him the ropes, like, here's what we got to gather for various things,
harvesting and
right. And then they see a bunch of metal monsters, which is the bulldozers coming, to take over their area, which sucks, of course. We get stories about that all the time. Unfortunate situation for sure. Those poor innocent cannibals. And then we got our little title sequence with, we're just kind of tracking over the jungle.
Right.
It's like a helicopter shot going on.
It's another one of those beauty and horror kind of a things.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the first things I noticed was, just capturing the bright side of these movies before they take us down the dark, dirty path of
right.
whatever they're about to show us.
Right. And that's the cool thing about this movie is like, yeah, there's some dark shit going on, but nothing's really dark in the movie. Everything's brightly lit.
Right. Yeah. It's like Midsommar in that context, like, oh, terrible shit is just happening in broad daylight.
In the midst of this beauty, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Man.
Yeah, camera work is phenomenal.
During the title credit sequence, though, I don't know what the issue was. Maybe it was the disc that I was watching it on, but it seemed like the actual names popping up and everything were like kind of pixelated. So I was worried about the visual quality of the movie going into it. I did notice during that sequence, though, the names Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berger, obviously big names in the special effects horror world for sure. So yeah, basically from that we go to a college campus, I can only assume, and Justine gets woken up by these like activists outside, and they're like yelling about health insurance or whatever. Like, I think they're fighting for janitors to have health insurance.
Yeah. Alejandro is on the megaphone outside, and they're yelling, and they're fighting for rights or health rights or whatever for the janitors that are on campus.
Right. Which, can we at least like meet at noon or something, guys? Like,
Right.
That's kind of rude.
That's why they're disturbing. They're disturbing the peace. Mm-hmm. Got to do it bright and early to
for sure
wake people up and piss them off. So
what do they want? Health insurance. When do they want it? Now.
Me too.
I mean, yeah, also that. I did find it funny that somebody was holding up a sign that said "Hunger Strike for Health." Like, that's not going to work out very well for you, dude.
They brush up on their history, right?
Right, you need to eat. Good luck. Good luck with that. But yeah, we wake up Justine, and she goes over to the window and opens it up, which, of course, opens up Casey and Scott, who are in the other bed on the other side of the room. Scott is kind of bitching about it. He's like, "Okay, can't sleep up in this bitch." That was a fun little line.
Typical college kids, huh?
Yeah, it's very early 2000s dialogue, which, Eli Roth is not going for, Oscar-worthy performances. Obviously, his goal is what we get later.
Right.
And boy, do we get it. Casey mentions something as they're walking along. They go from their room to a little, like, shopping montage. I think they might be coming out of a restaurant. Because they get like bagels or something. There's a lot of shots of restaurants in this movie I found interesting. She says something about rushing is big R-bomb. Obviously, more dialogue from the early 2000s. She's like, that's for idiots who go to Dartmouth. And I'm like, idiots in Dartmouth? That doesn't really make sense either.
Well, coming from so far what we assume to be a dumb character,
Right. And she's like bobbing her head around. She's like, oh, they're just whining about their white Jewish guilt. And then some lady walks up and she's like, hi, I'm Jewish. I'm allowed to say that.
Eli Roth's touch of humor in the movie.
So the girls come back. Yeah, Casey's got her bagel. They see the little like circle of love going on. Alejandro's playing a guitar and they're fucking kumbayaing it up. And she's like taunting them with her bagel. She's like, Zabaras or whatever.
Wouldn't be a college campus without a dude in an acoustic guitar.
Right. Obviously, Justine is turned on by that. She's like staring at Alejandro, and then Kara walks up and kisses him, staring dead at Justine, like, back up, bitch.
My man.
Good stuff. We go quickly from that into sort of a setup for the rest of the movie. The professor in their class is talking about female genital mutilation, which is a very real thing. It's something that happens in tribes around the world. We, from our perspective here in America, think that it's awful, obviously. I guess it's sort of a matter of perspective, really. They believe certain things about it. It would be nice for that not to be the case, but it is. They're not going to do a whole lot about it, unfortunately.
Right.
Well, and what I caught here was nobody was paying attention. I mean, like, it seemed like it was like a kind of like an indigenous history kind of a class, and everybody was kind of talking and like not paying attention.
Except for Justine. She was fucking horrified.
Yeah,
right?
She was like, this is fucked. And so it's just like, I kind of caught it as a little bit of foreshadowing of like, she maybe because she's paying attention, she might actually get out of this.
Yeah, but then she's like, I'm going to tell Daddy about it. He's a lawyer at the UN. He can stop this.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
All right, Justine, you can do whatever you want.
So something I noticed here that, she's outspoken about that and says something to her teacher about her father being a lawyer for the UN. I don't know if you noticed, but immediately Jonah gets out his cell phone.
Mm-hmm. He starts texting it, probably Alejandro.
Yeah, Jonah is using that bit of information for the cause. Essentially, he's letting Alejandro know that, hey, we need her. This is going to be beneficial to what we're about to do.
Hell
So,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, she drops that, and he's like, oh, fuck, all right.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed that, too. Good catch, for sure.
They, right as they're walking out of the classroom, too, I don't remember what it's called, but they talk about the fire ants from later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
just briefly mentioned.
She says, now we go, it's the professor still talking.
Yeah.
And she's like, now we move on to the ant ordeal, which sounds like a big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeps you kind of wondering what she's talking about.
Daniel definitely goes through an ant ordeal later.
Right.
So Casey and Justine walk out of this class and she's like, well, hell, why do we even do safe sex lectures? Just talk about this and people are going to abstain. Like, fuck that. But Jonah runs out and he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And she's like, yeah. And he kind of like suggests like alone. And then Casey like literally steps 2 feet away.
Right.
Like she can still hear the whole fucking thing. So he's like, hey, I just wanted to give you a flyer for our group. Hey, don't think, act. And then Alejandro's just creeping the whole time. He's like staring, making sure it goes according to his plan.
Well, I think
Like
the big
stalking
thing
her.
is he's aware that Justine is somewhat interested, and he's playing that into getting her to be involved in this as well.
Right. Yeah. And then Casey, more of that god awful 2000s dialogue. Activism is so fucking gay. Like, wow, dude.
I wrote down, I was just like, wow.
Come
So
on,
far,
man. Yeah. Thank God
people
we
are shitty.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago, and I kind of can't believe it was only 10 years ago that kind of shit was acceptable.
Right.
I mean, even since then, we've come a long way, I think. So,
Thankfully.
not as far as we need to, but we're making progress.
So they go to a lunch scene where Justine is talking to her dad about, this whole situation, and the dad seems kind of bummed that we can't invade countries anymore. He's like, oh yeah, can't really do that anymore. That sucks.
Which means
Just because we think something's wrong.
means he's an old school. I don't know what's the right word. Businessman.
Corpo.
Yeah.
Corpo.
Yeah, for sure. But he's also sort of overbearing. He talks to her. He's like, where's your necklace? Why don't you play flute anymore? Like, your mom made that necklace out of your grandma's silver. Your mom loved it when you played your flute. She's like, yeah, she also loved it when I did what I fucking wanted to do. Like, back up off me, dog.
Well,
He's
also,
like,
it's very important that he's pointing out that necklace because the necklace is so important to the movie later on.
Right. He's like, yeah, I just don't want your talent to go to waste. And she's like, I don't think that it is, but I guess we'll fucking find out.
Dad, I'm in college now. If you could fuck right off,
Right.
yeah, I'm going to do what I want.
And I thought it was funny. They keep on going back and forth like the 180 shot thing between Justine and her dad, Justine and her dad, Justine and her dad. And then, holy shit, where's Casey come from? Has she been here this whole time? She's like, hey, are you going to eat that fucking cheese bread or whatever?
Right.
He's like, no, knock yourself out.
It reminds me of typical college stuff. Obviously, girls are together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're broke. They're in college, and she gets drug along to lunch.
Yeah, for sure. Which so many shots of restaurants in this movie.
Right.
Holy shit, we go from this restaurant to a Hungarian pastry shop where the activism group is meeting again.
Right.
And Alejandro's like, have you ever fantasized about saving a tribe? What? Like, I mean, I guess, like, that would be nice.
Well, this is just kind of something that just like popped into my head. Do you think that was purposeful to be like, like America's just like waste of food? It's just like we cut from one shot to one shot to one shot of them eating. And it's just like,
Right.
in the juxtaposition
Different
of
worlds completely.
Yeah, then now we're going to see these starving people in Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
so this is where Alejandro lays down the whole reason they're going over there. Peruvian Amazon forest, there is natural gas underneath these villages. So all of these companies are coming in, tearing down the rainforest, leveling everything out, and taking the gas, I guess.
Yep. Raping this land of its natural beauty and resources for their own personal gains.
Right.
Which the Hungarian pastry shop, is a good place for a hunger strike. And we get a line from Justine where she's like, all right, so I agree with everything you're saying. What's the plan? We just go down there and not eat stuff?
Right. March into the jungle and starve ourselves.
Right. And he's like, you must be a freshman. Only a freshman would speak with such insolence. And he's like, bye, bitch, you can leave now.
If you don't want to be here, don't be here.
Which, of course, Jonah chases her out because he's in love.
Right.
And he sounds silly this whole time, man. He's like, hey, Alejandro didn't mean it. He just takes his stuff really seriously. all right, anyway, thanks for coming.
Yeah, terrible acting here, but
Come back, please.
Right. We do get a little glimpse of Justine's silver flute necklace the next morning when she wakes up. She kind of takes it out of her little nightstand thing, which is cool. She does run into Alejandro after this. She's like, hey, I didn't mean to be so flip. Whatever that means. like flippant,
more
I guess.
That lingo, man.
Yeah, I guess so. She's just abbreviating the word. But he tries to like ice her out, and he's like, you know, okay, whatever. Yeah, you did mean it. Like his body language in this scene is really funny. He's like refusing to look at her for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's playing into the whole thing with her kind of digging on him. You know, he's playing hard to get here.
Yeah.
Which is another way to loop her in, you know. If he's pushing her away, she's going to want in. And
Right.
That's exactly what we get, you know.
I mean, he knows he needs her in deep, you know, to kind of, you know, I mean, he's already got his plan in head and they haven't been filled in yet, but
they haven't been filmed in yet.
They haven't been filmed in yet either, technically, yeah.
They wait for Peru for that. But yeah, speaking of film, he mentions we need cameras on these people to shame them. That's the only way we're going to be able to change things. As soon as they have cameras on them, it's going to flip the script. They're not going to want to be exposed for the monsters that they are. So this is the only way we're gonna change anything. Which, I mean, I can kind of see that. I guess, you know, it makes sense to, you know, as soon as you out someone, they're going to want to change their game.
Well, I felt like this is really kind of that time. I mean, 2013 is really when kind of the instant news kind of started picking up on socials and stuff like that. So, you know, I think he really kind of like he was making a point of like, listen, we can get this out there right now.
Right.
And so the second we make these guys out to be the monsters that they are, then, you know, they're going to shut down camp and they'll move on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He mentions the Yahez village in their little planning meeting. His plan is to go down, take video with their phones, and then they're hoping that the video of the construction site and everything is going to change things, which Kara kind of threatens Justine in this moment. She walks up to her afterwards and she's like, are you sure you're here for the right reasons? And then she like stares dead at Alejandro like, you trying to fucking move in on my man?
See, I think it's more mind games.
Yeah?
I think it's all mind games.
You think that was planned between Kara and Alejandro?
I think so.
Okay.
I do. I think everything that they're doing to build this up is to make sure she's not going to back out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I read it as it is kind of calling her out like, oh, you're not going to bitch out, are you? Oh,
right.
No, of course not.
Like, kind of, are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you can do this? And it's kind of sizing her up, too.
Challenging her.
Right.
Right.
Well, and they need her for their ploy. So they're like, we need to make sure she sticks around. So they're doing everything in their power to be like, make her feel small, but also like convince her to come.
Do it in a way that's going to inspire her to prove us wrong.
Yes.
Essentially. Yeah. Casey goes, she's making the most sense out of anyone in this movie at this point, because we go to yet another restaurant scene. Not sure where they are in this case, but she's like, are you going tree hugging or bulldozer hugging? And she's like, well, they're going to fucking shoot you. Like, yeah, they definitely are. And she comes fucking close to getting it too. But yeah, I'm not crazy about Casey, but
she's the only one that makes a point.
Makes a good point.
At first they make her out to be the stupid friend, but then she's like, are you fucking dumb? Like,
Yeah,
there's no way this goes how you want it to.
She's definitely the voice of reason here. Yeah.
Regardless of whether she's doing it from a selfish place, it's still a good point to be made.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, and then we get reassured, too, because we go to the next scene with Justine talking to her father. Mm-hmm. And he's on the same boat as Casey, pretty much. It's a bad idea.
Right.
Peru is dangerous.
Well, Casey asks her at the end of that last scene, she's like, does your dad know? And she's like,
Might want to fill him in.
Right. Which this scene is funny, too, because he's just being a very business-minded, he's not super dadly in this scene, because he's like, give me numbers, Justine. I need numbers. Who's all going on this trip with you? I insist you talk to Dale, who is the Peruvian ambassador for the UN.
Right.
Like, I'm texting you his number. I insist you talk to Dale.
He's just so detached. It is kind of that, like, a father who works all the time talking to his daughter, right? Like, he doesn't know how to relate to her. He's just like, yeah, don't do that. Like,
yeah, Peru's a dangerous place, which you're correct.
I feel like he almost tried to save her, though. I'm sure if she would have called the ambassador,
right,
he would have said, this is a terrible idea also, you know?
Oh, for sure. 1,000%. So we go to Justine packing for the trip, of course. She grabs her little flute necklace. It's important that we see that. And I don't remember what prompts this line. Casey is kind of seeing her off, right? And she's like, I think you're 100% wrong to do this or whatever. And then Justine turns around. She's like, I think you're 100% whore.
Yeah.
She's
no,
like
50%.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, maybe 50-50. But then we have that moment where like someone is leaving that you care about, right? And then at the last second, you call out to him to say something powerful and leave a lasting impression or whatever. But she just goes, Justine. Nothing. Never mind. Like, I hate that shit, man.
See you on Monday.
Yeah. Nothing. Well, you clearly had something to fucking say a second ago. Well.
I'm guessing maybe that was her second guessing herself, but, you know, because of everything before, she's got to do this, you know?
Yeah, could be. But in any case, we are off to Peru. And Carlos is kicking it on the outside of the plane. He's like the sponsor for the trip, right? Justine like assumes he's a drug dealer.
Oh yeah,
because the one dude Daniel drops the line. He's like, just because he's Latin and wealthy doesn't mean he's a drug dealer. She's like, I didn't say that. And then Jonah comes to her rescue, like, yeah, she didn't say that, bro.
One thing that stood out for me here as they're getting on this plane and Carlos is being introduced and all this is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they're speaking in Spanish.
Oh yeah,
in front of Justine when Justine's getting on the plane because they're all saying, "Hey, that's her. That's the girl I've been telling you about.
Exactly,
it's the girl with the father."
Which you kind of think because, like, as everyone's boarding the plane, Carlos is kissing all the ladies. And he's like, he actually like ends up shaking Justine's hand at first, and then he like yanks her in like Trump, and then like forcefully gives her a kiss on the cheek. He's like, "Oh, it's just tradition. We kiss here. Sorry." And she's like weirded out by it, but she walks over and takes a little selfie with Jonah because he like begs her for one, of course, the little puppy dog, and they take their selfie and she's boarding the plane. And yeah, she looks back at Alejandro and Carlos and they're staring dead at her.
Yeah. Just talking about her. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, is that just another, oh yeah, she's hot, huh? Yeah. Like, or, you know, Carlos, you know, trying to move in on that? Or is it, yeah, that's the girl with the dad from the UN.
Yep.
That's, we need to make sure, you know, she's, you know, safe.
Which I guess we should point out too that because we have seen this movie, we know that this is coming because until the point that this happens, you have no idea that is the big scheme.
Right.
You know, this is something that is going to come in on you later.
It's not until they're on the plane back.
Right.
Right. Which we'll get to that shit too. Holy hell. So they're on the plane. Jonah is trying to like defend Justine, and then Lars looks over at him. He's like, "You're such a fat guy in love." Like, which, fucking dude. Hashtag same.
Putting it on the spot.
So they actually get to Peru, and that's where we get the cool like motorcycle rickshaws thing.
Oh yeah,
those things are dope, man. I want one.
They're all named after movie actors or big time movies. What we got? Brad Pitt.
Is that what was going on?
Rocky
I was really
3.
wondering. So they're getting on these. Of course, Jonah gets into the same one as Justine, and he's trying to like every time we see him, he's like trying to get keep close to her,
putting his moves on her.
Right. Lars mentions to Carlos, he's like, "Hey man, where do we at?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, man. I'll hook you up."
Carlos says, "I got you, man."
Oh, turns out Carlos is a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, they do a little tour of Peru, which is beautiful, obviously.
Yeah, more scenic.
But yeah,
camera work here.
It weirded me out. Yeah, Justine and Jonah's rickshaw says Brad Pitt on the back of it. Like, what the fuck? Why?
Movie stars? What?
There's another one too that says Rocky 4. So I don't know what that's about, but regardless, Peru is fucking awesome. Obviously, it's gorgeous. Peru is where Machu Picchu is, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so,
I
yeah.
don't know enough about geography, but I think you're
sure.
right in that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I do know, like, Peru is dangerous. Like, her dad is not wrong in that aspect when he brings it up. Like,
Right.
it's
That's
a
fair.
very, like, stick to the roads kind of a thing, because if you go off the beaten path, you're fucked.
Third world country stuff, get robbed, not even realize you got robbed.
Which, we get a clue into that third world country situation because there's a little family driving by on a motorcycle, and the one girl mentions, like, they're not wearing helmets. That's basically child abuse.
Oh, yeah, they're riding a motorcycle,
Like,
just
okay.
carrying a child with one hand.
Like, shit works different in those places, man. Calm down. They're not abusing their kid.
What agency are you going to report them to here?
So we get one final restaurant scene here. They're all sitting down to lunch, and then Amy, I think her name is, the blonde girl, she's freaking out a little bit because she goes, it's a good thing I got those shots. And then Jonah's like, oh, actually, they're not 100% effective. Like, Jonah, you dumbass.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, malaria and
Yeah,
stuff.
because she gets, like, a mosquito bite or something while they're eating.
Yeah. Well, like, even if that is true, don't be an asshole and say that to her and scare her. Like, she's already here. She's already freaked out.
This is where he pulls out his bug spray and he's like, that's why I got this. And it's like ultra
Yeah.
strength.
He's like, it's got DEET.
It's got extra DEET. Yeah.
So she takes it and fucking hoses herself down with it. And he's like, dude, don't waste all my bug spray. This is where Lars gets his weed from Carlos. And he's like, oh, how much? He's like, oh, don't worry about it, man. I got you. He's like, fuck yeah, free weed. He's like, hey, be careful, man. It's Peruvian weed. That's very strong shit.
This isn't the weed your father smoked.
No. A pretty funny moment in this instant where Kara throws, she's like giving everybody their shirts, but she like throws Justine's directly at her face as she's trying to take a bite of something.
Fucking was just all just treating her like shit the whole time.
Yeah, throwing shade.
Yeah, rude. Alejandro mentions at this point something about, they're freaked out that it's dangerous and, oh, there's a militia. They're going to have guns. Fuck. I think it's Samantha says something about, why don't we have guns? And then Alejandro holds up his phone. He's like, these are our guns.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, dude. What
Cameras
are you talking about?
are our only defense, which, I would think would be very unsettling,
Yeah, I would have felt better with an actual gun.
Right.
At least one person having an actual gun.
That just brings more violence, though, too. If this is supposed to be a non-violent thing,
Right. But there's a difference between seeking out violence and protecting yourself in the case that, you need to.
Right. Very true.
I'm sure Carlos probably has one.
So I noticed the next scene had some really intense music leading up to the boat rides that they're going to.
For sure. Yeah. I did want to mention Alejandro makes them all feel better. And he's like, don't worry, if they kill one of us, they'll have to kill us all, which that'll make everybody feel better, right? He's also in this moment kind of doing that thing where he's like challenging them, because in this moment he's like, well, if you want to back out, there's the door or whatever. And then nobody does. Of course, I ain't no bitch.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Probably like also, how the hell would I get back even if I wanted to back out now? Like,
Or
this
where
whole thing is funded by Carlos. So
But yeah, I did notice in that when they actually do go to the boats, they like run from whatever vehicle they get off of. And they're like, okay, here's the moment. We have to haul ass to these boats. Is it because they're worried that they're going to be attacked or taken advantage of in some way by the people around?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's very, very busy where they're going through, almost like it's a work area or something, but maybe they could be stopped by local authority before they get to the boats.
Maybe. Yeah, Alejandro and Carlos are both yelling like, straight to the boats. Let's fucking haul
Right.
it. Go, go, go,
I think
go,
they're
go.
trying not to be intercepted.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that they're not from there. You know what I mean? So if they stopped and looked, checked their bags or something for some reason, what are you doing here? The
Right.
jig would be up immediately.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. And somebody says, or I think it's Justine. She's like, what are they saying? Justine's like, I don't know. It's Quechua. And she's like, what's Quechua? And fucking Cara's like, she's a singer. Shut up.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Oh, Kesha and your haunted vagina. Anyway,
Yeah, this whole scene is really intense because of the music and the rushing around. And then, everybody's rushed onto the boat. Boats are speeding off. Justine's having second thoughts, but then we get more of that cinematic overshot of the rain. I don't get sick of it. It's so good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. They're on their little boat trip now, and oh my god, it's fucking gorgeous. Like, oh, I would love to see this shit.
The water looks like the Muddy Maumee, but other than that,
it is a little murky. I guess for a better reference, the Muddy Mississippi, but that's more of a local thing for us Midwestern boys. So yeah, Jonah's trying to impress Justine with, talking about the GPS. She asks about the GPS, which Daniel has, and he starts answering her about it. And then Jonah's like, "Oh yeah, there's like 12 satellites, and it's fucking blah, 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 blah. This is an older model, but it should still be pretty accurate." And Daniel's like, "Thanks, Jonah.
Everybody hates Jonah.
I'm glad you were here for that." Lars has to potty. He's like, "Hey, are we gonna hit any rest stops anytime soon? Can we pull over?" He's like, "Well, no, I don't have to go now, but I mean, I will soon, probably, maybe."
And they're like, camp is, they said it's a while out. It's
like
3
hours.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
And he's like, okay, yeah, maybe we should stop.
So they pull over, and Lars goes to get off the boat, and they hand him a machete. And he's like, "What the fuck? What's this for?" And Carlos is like, "It's for the snakes." And he's like, "Snakes? Zoinks." And he's like, "Never mind, maybe I don't have to pee that bad." And Justine's like, "Fuck that, I do." She grabs the machete and gets off the boat. She runs off, and he's like, "All right, well, I can't back out now. Now I have to go." So he's like, "Hey, you got another machete?" No, they fucking hand him a gun, which he has no business with.
Yeah, he about drops it.
Well, not only that, but do you see all the ways he's holding this fucking thing? I'm surprised he didn't shoot himself.
Right.
Obviously
Absolutely.
has no idea how to handle a gun.
First timer.
So Justine goes to pee on this branch, and he goes and walks up to the same branch.
He's gonna pee
like,
right next to her 'cause he's scared,
he's
man.
scared.
He's in the rainforest.
Yeah,
You know, not realizing that, hey, boys' bathroom, girls' bathroom type of situation. So
Right, yeah, not caring about that stupid societal bullshit that we all have to follow.
Right.
But Justine's still,
It's
prim
like, get
and proper.
away from me.
Right, yeah. She's like, "Find your own tree," or whatever. And so he does. He goes and like, we see like half of his dick and one of his testicles, which, once again, I appreciate it when a movie's not afraid to do that. Equal representation, that's all I'm saying. But he starts peeing, and there's this fucking tarantula crawling up the log toward his dick.
He's totally not paying attention at first. He doesn't
No,
see it,
he's like
and
got his eyes closed. He's like, "Oh, yeah.
the best pee of his life.
That feels so good."
And then we hear gunshots from the
Right.
boat.
Yeah, well, Justine asks when she gets back onto the boat, "Where's Lars?" And then boom, boom, boom. Yeah, he fucking runs back out. "A tarantula almost bit my dick off."
I think he throws the gun back at the captain of the boat too.
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice that. So they take off back down the river, and then everyone starts like oohing and ahhing and stuff. And at first I was like, "Oh wait, what are they seeing?" And there's a black jaguar like sunbathing on a rock, and it's fucking awesome and majestic.
And they go into that whole spiel about like the black jaguar being a good omen, actually.
Right? Yeah. Samantha
say-
says something about, "Oh, it's my next tattoo."
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, Carlos says, "Well, the people of this region believe that the black jaguar is the guardian of nature, and it also carries sinners to hell." And I think it's either Daniel or Lars says, "Oh, good thing it's on our side," which it's a fucking jaguar. It's it's going to murder you if you get too close. Like,
Yeah, it
Don't
just
worry
makes this scene very, very tense. You know, because is it a good omen? Is it a bad omen?
Alejandro
Nobody really
thinks
knows.
it's a good thing, but yeah, they everyone's super nervous when they're approaching the site. The tension changes
Right.
dramatically. Like, as they're approaching this thing, everybody's like, "Oh fuck, here we go." Everybody gets their game face on. So they pull ashore, and then Alejandro starts stripping, and then everybody else does too. I'm like, fuck, is this part of the plan? What's going on here? Turns out they're just getting their like uniforms on. They put on their t-shirts. They put on their like, it looks like hazmat suits almost, but it's like gas company.
Yeah, I was going
Right.
to say it was like
Uniforms.
the corporate garb that the construction workers were
Right.
all wearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all
Hard
got their
hats.
blue hard hats. Yep. Kara ends up pulling Justine's backpack off of her, and she's like, "Hey, what the fuck, man?" She's like, "Nope, no extra equipment. We're leaving this shit here." Which, good point.
Right. I think Jonas tells everybody to grab their passports in case they're arrested.
Yeah, so they get their camouflage on.
It's not Jonah. It's Alejandro mentions it because this comes back very quickly. Once they actually get to the site, he hands the passports to Carlos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Didn't see all that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like that was the real moment where I was like, oh, fuck, there's something else going on. Yeah,
it's all planned.
They tip you off like right before the actual reveal.
Right. So they get like to the site that they're trying to get to, and Alejandro ends up giving everybody masks, and he's like, hey, this isn't about the individual, this is about the cause. We're one face now, which I appreciated that a little bit. Like, yeah, this isn't about you and seeing, having people see you doing good in the world for recognition. This is about getting this done.
Right.
Kind of a thing, which was cool. So their plan is to chain themselves to trees and equipment, which, you've heard of people doing that before. It's been effective in certain times, but in this case, it backfires a little bit. So they're standing there waiting to walk into the site. And there's this guy that I thought, oh shit, they got because this guy looks directly at him through the trees. But Alejandro's like, that's our guy. Okay, we're all good after this. And so the construction workers are like, I don't know if they're going on break or whatever. And then they all file in, obviously. Which I thought they all looked goofy. They're all walking in a single file line. Like, obviously, they all look out of place.
If anybody notices you, you're fucked because you look completely out of place.
Right.
I'm not sure if there were any women on the actual crew that was there, but again, obviously, we got these like ponytails bobbing under their construction hats and stuff.
Standing out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
sure.
seriously. So they get out there and they start digging into their bags where they've got their chains, and they've got these little tube things that say free Amazon or something on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Advertising.
Which they hold up to be seen in the video, sure. But they begin to chain themselves to things, and Justine's lock won't work. I don't know what the deal is, but did they give her a faulty lock?
Yeah. So Kara is passing out locks in the madness of them getting all their chains out because everybody's starting to work really fast. Mm-hmm. She goes to grab a lock from somebody else, and Kara chimes in and says, no, here, I got you, and hands her the broken lock.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, all on purpose.
God damn
all of it on purpose.
All right. Son of a bitch. And yeah, she's like pleading to Kara the whole time. She's like, Kara, help me, my lock won't work.
Yeah.
And Kara's just not responding. She's like 20 feet away from her. She's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, at this point, everybody's chained and locked in.
Yeah. She's like, my lock works. I don't know what your deal is.
Justine is screaming, can't get her lock on.
Mm-hmm.
She's like scream whispering. She's like,
yeah, help me.
So did they also do the explosion?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't really catch like how that worked.
So later on when they're on the plane, or I'm sorry, later on when they're in the cage, he says something about maybe we shouldn't have set off that explosion first.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that just like a ringing of the bell sort of a thing?
I think so.
Getting the attention of, which, it kind of backfired in a way because like that's definitely getting the attention of the militia, who like as soon as that explosion goes off, they fucking run out and swarm the place.
Right. Yep.
All their fucking submachine guns held up and stuff.
Well, yeah, that's why that comes full circle about like the why don't we have guns thing, because they're all chained to the trees and the equipment, and they just all point their guns at them, and the guys are just like, how did you think this was gonna fucking work with their guns pointed at them?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But as soon as the explosion happens, that's when Alejandro starts to chant, "This is the Yahes home, leave nature alone," and they all jump into it. And yeah, the militia comes out, and Justine's fucking lock doesn't work, and she immediately gets like pulled out of the chain because, obviously.
Yeah.
And then fucking dropped to her knees and held at gunpoint. And yeah, that's what Alejandro wanted to use to get through to the rest of the world. Like, oh, look at what they're doing. These are awful people. Obviously, not only are they destroying this rainforest, but they're willing to shoot a girl whose father works as a lawyer for the UN.
Right.
Like, this is, everything about it is palpable in some way.
Yep.
So there's a phone call where the guy who's holding a gun to Justine's head gets a phone call, and the result of it lowers all their guns. So I guess that satellite did work. Their stream went out and immediately got attention. They got a call and were told, hey, knock the shit off. We're going to have to pull out or something. And yeah, they're basically good at that point. However, they do get arrested by the Peruvian authorities.
Yep, the militia all lowers their guns, and he tells the crew to pack up. No more bulldozing.
Yeah. So they go back to where all their gear was left, and it's all gone now. I guess the Peruvian, I can't remember what it said on the boats, but it was like, Polizia Amazonia or some shit like that. So they confiscated their gear. They arrest everyone. Carlos ends up paying off one of the authorities and getting the passports back. And they get back on the plane, and essentially, cool, they won. They're headed back home.
Everything's done. Everybody won.
Yeah,
mission accomplished.
They mention we're trending right now. Reddit is we're on the front page of Reddit. CNN is talking about us and shit. So like, fucking A, guys, you did it.
Well, and at this point, Justine's smart enough to realize this was all a ploy. She's only here because of her father being a lawyer for the UN. They used her for the attention.
Fucking pissed.
Everybody is celebrating, and she's just seething over there, knowing that she was singled out on purpose. Yeah, her life was threatened because I think an asshole.
I think she realized like they didn't fucking care if they did or didn't shoot me. Either way, it was getting the attention.
Right.
So like realistically, they could have, if that phone call wouldn't have came in, I probably would have been blown away.
What if he would have shot you in the face? It's a risk we were willing to take.
Right. Yeah. Daniel mentions, hey man, Lars, you want to do something with that weed before we get to customs? And Lars just stuffs it in his boot like that's going to do anything.
Yeah, he's just like, I got it, man. They ain't going to check here.
Okay. But yeah, this is where Alejandro walks up and goes to hand Justine a beer, and he's like, hey, we did it. You should celebrate the small victories. And she's like, hey, why don't you go fuck yourself? Because I had a gun held to my head today. What was your experience? And just everybody's just giving everyone all kinds of stank faces in this moment. Like Justine's giving it to Cara and Alejandro. Cara and Alejandro are giving it back to Justine. Jonah's in there a little bit, giving one to somebody. I don't even fucking know. He's just trying to join. He's just trying to be a part of the group at this point. And he's like, well, this is what we're doing.
Well, it's almost a weird situation because, Justine's upset because her life was at stake, but everybody else isn't looking at it like that. It's, hey, you sacrificed this for the cause. You're still alive. You should celebrate. But, it's kind of hard to not be pissed off when you have a gun to your head,
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Which this build-up looks like everything is all great. Everybody's celebrating. Plane ride's going fine, right?
For a minute.
For a second.
Yeah, one of the engines fucking explodes.
Yep.
Just catches fire all of a sudden. I don't know. I rewound it a couple of times. I'm like, did something fly into it? Did they hit a bird?
I think it was just mechanical error,
Mechanical failure.
Yep.
Well, later on, Alejandro mentioned something about, like, you think the plane was not sabotaged?
Right.
Like, okay, that could be too.
That's what I thought. I thought it was purposely it went down. I didn't think that it was. I thought it was all set up. I thought this was still more like, we need to show what's going on. I mean, I don't know that they all they intended to be captured per se, but
sure,
for some reason that plane had to go down.
I think it has something to do with later on he tells everybody what's really going on and what happened, and that this is only a delay to the first construction company tearing it down. So if
Carlos,
anything,
because Carlos was he was the one that paid off the.
Well, he got paid off basically to get to the site first to drive that other company off.
Right.
So he was paid by a second company.
So who's to say one of the other construction companies didn't maybe sabotage the plane without them knowing? I don't think the plan was for the plane to go down on their point of view.
Sure.
Yeah. That wasn't what I was saying. Yeah, right. Like you said, another company, something like they were trying to.
They caught wind of what was going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was the corruption, leading in.
But either way, this plane crash is fucking gnarly, dude. We get the plane flips upside down at one point, and Jonah
throws up.
Dude pukes up his own face. Oh god, it's terrible.
So awesome.
When we get there, some of the nameless people are just hanging in trees.
Oh yeah, a couple of people get sucked out of the plane.
Yeah, the plane goes upside down, tears in half.
Yeah,
2 seats go flying out of the back.
Yeah.
Or what was the spectacular landing with the branch?
Oh my
through
god,
the head?
that was my favorite fucking part. Yeah, dude. They finally do land. They touch ground, and yeah, this branch goes straight through the fucking windshield into this guy's face. Just impales it, knocks back
gone.
his head completely. Oh my god,
His head is gone.
it was so good. It was so good. One of the girls landed in a tree. She like,
Ooh, yeah.
when they finally get out, she's like barely there, but she's like, help me, or whatever. And then the one guy like freaks out and then just runs into the fucking propeller.
Oh yeah.
Why? You had to have known that was there, man. He just like walked straight into it.
I was sitting there watching this movie by myself, and that guy gets decapitated, and I was like, oh, fuck.
Like, the plane already crashed. You're a fucking moron, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think just shock,
Maybe, yeah.
unaware of where he's really at and what's going on, because
Yeah.
the propeller was moving kind of slow, but obviously fast enough.
Yeah, it's a traumatizing event for sure. You're just a part of a plane crash, so you're not thinking straight.
Well, he gets got, and then Amy starts freaking out again. The plane explodes, and I'm not sure if it's just one of the girls that already flew out of the plane, or if it was because the plane exploded and like shot the seat up into the sky.
Right.
Either way, this fucking Lars is standing there, and then behind him, this girl and her seat from the plane fall directly on her face. Oh my god, shit's rough, dude. And almost immediately, they do notice that Carlos is also dead, which is a problem. And then they fucking get swarmed by cannibals, dude. Fucking sleep darts all over the place and arrows, and Kara gets one right in the neck.
Yeah, the neck, and then directly to the forehead too, as
well,
Alejandro's
yeah.
trying to comfort her as she's dying.
Yeah, they're like, don't worry, we're gonna get out of this. Oh fuck, never mind. Yeah, right in the forehead. Good god.
So everybody's hit with the poison or sleeping darts here, and then we wake up to. I'm sorry, Justine wakes up in the boat.
I do like the part at the end of that where Daniel is like looking around for the GPS, and like, you had to have known this was a terrible idea just to scream, the GPS! And like draw fucking more attention to yourself, because it's in that moment that, nope, he gets the fucking dart too. Which, not that he was going to get out of it, but
yeah,
still.
One man against the whole.
But yeah, don't scream shit to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah. This isn't a Rambo situation, buddy.
So yeah, Justine wakes up tied up in the boat, and they're all, I think, in separate boats.
Yeah.
The survivors anyway.
Yep.
And yeah, they're finally making their way to the village. And why is everyone so red? Is it like bathing in blood situation?
I don't really know.
I don't think it's their natural skin tone, because, like, obviously you hear, the old, racist adage of the American Indian, which they're not Indian, goddammit, Native Americans, being the red man. But in this case, like, I'm pretty sure that I saw, at least on one of the women that had one of, like, the dresses on or whatever, like, it was like kind of like smeared on her forehead a little bit, but then like above it was her natural skin tone, more tan.
Yeah, I thought it was just like tribal paint. That's all I thought.
Could be, or if it is a cannibalistic society, do they
could
just
be
like
blood.
regularly bathe in blood?
Yeah, it could be that.
So when they get to the village, the tribe, like, at least the women in the tribe keep like petting the white girls.
Right.
Like,
Everybody's getting rubbed on, kind of thing.
Look at my cute new little dolly.
Yeah, I think it's you don't really see these types of people anywhere else, so it's like you said.
Yeah, they're kind of fascinated by it. The one, Amy gets her hair ripped out by one of them.
Right.
They're like keeping it as a, I don't know.
Memento.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of premonition for what's coming, I guess. Not only is the tribe swarming everybody, we have heads on sticks. There's bones around, just a bunch of really gross stuff.
Foreshadowing.
You're let known really quickly, like, oh, this isn't just a tribe, like, we're fucked.
Right.
A couple of them get their phones taken away and broken by tribes people. Like, it was a little bit odd to me because do they know what a phone is? Why are they purposely breaking it?
Well, I mean, it's clearly not the first, like, because of the heads that are on pikes, it's not the first people they've kidnapped, right? So they probably know that, they probably don't know what a phone is, but it's like, this is how they communicate, so we need to destroy that.
Sure, okay. The tribal elder, who was all yellow, she was all yellow, she comes out and she's kind of looking at everybody, kind of sizing them up. She's like examining them. She pulls the hair of a few of them forward to look at it. And then when she gets to Justine, she smiles. I'm not sure exactly what that was about, but like she takes a liking to Justine.
So I think it's more of a they do the testing here shortly to see who's a virgin and who isn't.
Right.
And I think maybe she has a feeling by looking at Justine that maybe she's the pure one.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually thought, I didn't think that Justine was a virgin. I assumed she was just on her period or something at that point. But that does make sense. Yeah, virginal sacrifice sort of a thing.
Yep.
She is kind of the chosen one later. They're basically trying to find a role for everyone.
Right.
And yeah, Justine ends up fitting that role for the tribal elder. She's, like you said, she kind of gets a feeling that she's going to be the one. Turns out later she's right.
Right.
So we move over to everyone gets put in cages at this point, except Jonah.
Right.
They
And they realize
freaking out. Where's Jonah?
Yeah, they realize real quick somebody's missing.
Yeah, and here we fucking go. Like Jonah's already kind of like out of it, and they make him drink something, probably to put him more out of it.
Right.
And then they're like he thanks them, which is funny.
Yeah, well, because he was
Being the nice guy
fucking
he
thirsty, right? So he's just like, oh, thank God, something to drink.
Right.
No, don't thank God yet.
So they lay him down on a fucking rock, and goddamn,
Just mutilate the ever-loving fuck out of him.
Yeah, eyeball to each eyeball,
Yeah, this is that Greg Nicotero coming to light because, they're popping eyeballs out, chopping limbs off.
Yeah,
blood
man.
is fucking spraying out of places.
It looks fucking gnarly, man. Like, I think it's the tribal elder walks up and she's got her little like spike thing on her hand or whatever, and digs out both of his eyes and eats them. Digs out his tongue and eats it. And he's fucking screaming the whole time.
And they're all watching it from the cage, too. They're all just
Right.
like, yeah, this is fucking what we're doing. We're going to eat your friend because he's the fat guy.
That's the moment where they're like, holy fuck me, this is real. So, I thought he was kind of taking a minute to die, too, because they start hacking limbs off after the eyes and the tongue. And they chop his arm off. They chop both of his legs off. He's still fucking screaming the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Until they chop his last arm off and then, his head. And then he's finally fucking dead.
Fucking body is like flapping. Like they definitely have it on some kind of, I don't know, but like it's like the last thing he does. It's like they chop his leg off and his whole body convulses. And it's like, boom, off with the head.
Yeah.
I like this next scene a lot because it's almost like they're seasoning Jonah.
Yeah.
They have all of his parts.
Right.
I can't tell if it's almost like a salt curing thing like you would do if you were hunting.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Just
But
good,
they're seasoning him up.
They're trying to preserve the meat.
Right. And then into the smoker he goes.
Yeah, dude.
That's a pretty good sized smoker. I mean, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Thanksgiving's right around the corner. I wouldn't mind one of them. We last couple of years we ended up smoking a turkey. It turned out pretty good. So yeah, it's a nice. It's one of the like. It almost looks like a kiln, like for pottery and stuff. It's got like a chimney thing going on,
Right.
And then the front thing. But I mean, essentially, yes, it's an oven. And I enjoyed the cooking show.
The cannibal cooking
Well,
show.
we put a little salt on them there, maybe a little oregano, and
Sear that for 4 minutes each side, and it's going to come out real tender.
well, it looks like they put him in for longer than that. He was charred when he came back out, buddy.
Well, and just think of everybody sitting there watching this happen, and then to top it off,
Well, and
Lars-
Justine's like, this guy was just fucking hitting on me and flirting with me and everything. Poor Jonah.
Right.
I was falling
Lars
for that
says,
guy.
I can smell my friend being cooked.
That's fucked up. That's really
Which,
fucked up.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Creepy.
Creepy.
We cut from that to go into fucking chow time, and like everybody in the village is getting a little piece. They're all munching, you know, having a grand old time.
Oh God! Like I'm getting chills again. Just
we got ribs
thinking about this scene.
Yeah,
and
they're slicing
just
meat off of
fucking
his
flesh.
torso
So
like
many
he's
bits.
Thanksgiving dinner or something, you know?
God, carving them like
Getting
a
into the
fucking turkey, man.
ribs. Yeah.
And this is where the tone of the movie kind of changes, because then Amy is like, guys, I'm sick. And Lars is like, fuck you, we're all sick.
I felt like this made sense but didn't make sense too. Like, not necessary to the movie, but if you're in the Amazon, somebody's going to get sick like that.
Nature is going to call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. It's a little bit goofy because we hear the noises and stuff. But anyway, yeah. She gets up and she's like, I need a bathroom right now. And she fucking runs over to the corner and just shits violently.
The most violent shit, like a night out after fucking drinking and B-dubs, you're just waking up the next morning shitting like that.
Yeah, dude. And
It's pretty
she's like,
comical.
Yeah.
well, not for her, man. She's so fucking humiliated,
She's
man. She's
miserable.
like, I'm so sorry, you guys.
Yeah, the little kids.
Oh, they
They're
all start laughing at
they're
her.
pointing and laughing because
Yeah.
they know she's sick.
You fucking assholes.
Hey, remember, these are all shitty people, too.
Literally.
But just, oh my God. Yeah, how embarrassing. So we go to nighttime. Alejandro ends up filling everybody in that, hey, don't worry about it. There's more bulldozers on the way. That's when he drops the bomb of, oh, this was a big PR stunt. Carlos got paid off to get there first. He drops a thing about like, oh, this is the way the world works. You don't think the government had a hand in 9/11?
Right.
You know, a bunch of different mentions about various things like that. But then Alejandro says they're going to be here in about 3 days. And Amy's like, well, fuck me. 3 days is forever.
Right.
We need to get out of here now.
That's when they start to devise. Well, they don't, but a few of them start to be like, we got to get out of here, and they start trying to see if they can crawl out. Right?
Samantha does, yeah.
Yeah.
She like crawls up and immediately gets started. I thought at first that they killed her, but no, she wakes up in the morning. She's still around for now. But yeah, obviously a fucking terrible plan. Obviously they're watching you. Obviously you can't just crawl out of the top of the thing. Why didn't you try to pull a couple of bars out of the side where it's like, you know, less populated?
Go out the
or-
back, not the fucking top of the.
Right.
Nobody's thinking rationally.
Yeah.
No.
They're just, we got to get the fuck out of here. How do we do it? We got to
Right.
get out now.
So the next morning, the little boy, which I think is the same little boy from the beginning that was on the little expedition with his dad when they ran into the bulldozers, he's hanging out by Justine, just kind of staring at her, and he like looks at her necklace, and she like plays it for him. I was surprised it was a functional flute.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Pretty cool necklace, actually.
So she plays it for him. One of the other little kids wakes up, I think Samantha again, with a snake. He's
Yeah,
like,
this is when they're like they're toying with their food.
right. Yeah, check this out.
Yeah.
So she gets freaked out, obviously. The girls at this point are all taken out of the cage, and the bottom half of them are stripped.
Right.
This is the test that you were talking about a little while ago, Jason.
So this is where the tribal elder comes out with her weird little pokey finger, bugle-looking hook thing here, and
Bugle.
come to find out, she's testing to see who is a virgin or not, who's pure.
And she finds out, that's for sure. Nope, not Amy. Not
Nope.
Sam.
Justine. Go figure.
Of course. So that is, I think Justine gets like separated at this point. She gets taken off, and when she comes back, she's like all decorated up. But in the meantime, Sam wants to escape again. So by the time Justine is brought back and kind of painted white with some red dots all over her, Sam ends up escaping at that point, I think, or what we think is escaping.
They used a cell phone to distract while Samantha
Right.
ran.
Right. Yeah. Daniel's idea. Daniel's a good guy.
Yeah.
I like Daniel a lot. We get an actual instance of FGM, as they call it, female genital mutilation. There's this little girl who her legs are bound, and she goes to sit down, and Daniel says something about like, oh, you know what they're going to do to her, to Alejandro. And Alejandro don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, that's
more time for us. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, fucking asshole. They bring him pork scraps to eat, and Amy's like, I'm vegan. I'm not eating that, which probably should have stuck with that, because this is when she discovers at the bottom of her little bowl is a piece of Sam's skin.
Yep, her tattoo.
Turns out Sam didn't fucking make it. Yeah, because like, and then we cut to all the kids in the village like holding the tattoos onto their own skin, like,
right.
Look at me. Oh man. So yeah, sorry Samantha.
Well, that's I mean, it wasn't pork scraps. It was
Sam scraps.
Yep. Samantha scraps.
Which obviously is too much for Amy. She can't fucking handle it at this point. She breaks the bowl that she was just eating out of and slits her own fucking throat.
Yeah. Oh, and that's a brutal scene too. Mm-hmm. Such a brutal scene.
It all just happened so fast and looked so fucking real.
Right.
Like, oh God.
But it gives Lars the bright idea. Oh, hey, you know what's going to happen now? Now that she's dead, they're going to eat her.
Yeah.
So
well, we take this goat bag. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, here's the thing, though. He's like, we're going to stick the weed in to Amy, right? When they cook her, it's going to mix in with all the meat. They're going to eat the meat and they're going to get high.
Right.
Good plan, right? But it's in a bag. Like, I don't really see it escaping and
I think it would still smoke with enough heat. I mean,
maybe. I don't know.
I'm thinking he's just hoping that the taste of human's going to cover all that up.
Possibly.
Wouldn't they think it was tainted, you know?
Oh, tainted indeed. But so it turns out that it actually does kind of work. They like the actual scene where they do it is kind of fucked up because like they stuff the weed into her mouth and then Daniel takes a fucking rod and he like goes to stuff it down like he's fucking loading a musket.
Yeah. Shoves it like in her stomach.
Mm-hmm. He grabs a stick and just fucking shoves it down in there. Mm-hmm. It's like, this was your fucking friend you're just destroying now.
And
shows their kind of descent too.
Yeah. And Daniel's like, all right, does anybody want to say any last words? Alejandro, you're good at talking. Why don't you say Alejandro? And he turns around and he's fucking jerking off in the corner. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Everybody's dying. You're jerking off. And he's like, yeah, and you'd be wise to do the same. When you're under stress, your body needs a release. This is my release. Daniel's all pissed off and he's like, I'm going to kill you or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, violence is another way to release stress. And he's like, well, I'm about to release my stress on you, motherfucker. And he runs over. He starts choking him, which is probably enhancing the experience for Alejandro.
Oh yeah, no, Alejandro picks up pace as he's getting choked.
Yeah, dude.
It's super uncomfortable.
What do they call it? Autoerotic asphyxiation?
Right. Which, that starts to happen. Bunch of commotion. People are yelling inside of the cage, and then that's interrupted.
Right. Man. And so Alejandro's kind of laughing after this about their Scooby-Doo plan, right? But it turns out it kind of works. They eat Amy, and everyone around the village is just like...
They're all stoned.
Everyone's laughing, like, uncontrollably.
Laughing, giggling.
The war chief is, like, fucking tripped out by something in front of him, and he's, like...
staring into space.
Tapping at it and shit. That was so fucking funny.
I think, doesn't he end up laying down, too? Like,
I think he passes out.
A little too high,
Yeah.
Which is funny, because, like you said, I wouldn't have thought that would have worked, but...
No, well, neither did Alejandro. He's like, they live in Peru. You don't think they've had weed before? But, yeah.
Tribe doesn't party as much,
So while everyone's high, they're like, all right, this is our chance. Let's get the fuck out of here. They start climbing out of the cage, Daniel and Justine. And then Lars is the last one to climb out of the cage. Alejandro runs up, grabs one of the fucking sleep darts and stabs him with it to prevent him from leaving. Like, oh, it can't just be me. Well, it didn't have to be. Why didn't you also try to fucking escape in this moment?
Right.
Like, I don't understand what his motivation was for that.
So his thought was, if he's the only one left, they're going to eat him. so to keep a body, which obviously is a very selfish character.
But why did he choose to stay there and make someone else stay with him rather than just going with the rest of them?
I got you.
Yeah.
I think he was just like, well, I mean, there had been at least a night or two that had passed by that point. So he's like, those bulldozers got to be here soon. My rescue's coming.
Yeah, he was counting on the bulldozers because it's almost obviously if you try to make a run for it, you're going to end up in the pork, the pork bowl.
They realized it's already happened once. So
so he's literally counting on being found.
Man. So unfortunately, Lars doesn't make it out. Daniel and Justine do run off. And then a little bit later, Lars wakes up to a couple of the tribal natives kind of just hovering over him. And he's like, oh, fuck, what happened? And Alejandro fucking, builds this story. He's like, oh, they darted you. You were trying to escape. Totally wasn't me.
Right. Dick.
So he's like, Lars is trying to make him laugh and stuff and, doing these goofy little tricks for him and stuff. He's like, oh, it's a joke. And he starts laughing, uncontrollably. Then they start trying to fucking eat his hands. He's like, oh, no, they got the munchies.
They got the munchies.
Right.
And they just fucking mutilate this poor guy. I mean, they're you're seeing tendons being ripped out.
Yeah, they bite his neck.
Yep.
Well, initially when they bite his arm and he jumps up and runs away, I'm like, okay, cool. That'll, maybe he'll have enough of an edge to get away. Nope, he's fucking swarmed by children. Mm-hmm. And they all just yeah, dude, it's like a swarm of fucking zombies. Just eat them alive.
Yeah, they have the little kid runs off with I don't know, his knee down, smiling and happy.
Yeah. The little girl runs off holding his leg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Ridiculous. So, we go back to Daniel and Justine. They have made it to the river, which is great. But then I think they find, what looks like some remnants of the plane wreck. And then Daniel jumps across to a rock and he's like, okay, now your turn. Justine goes to jump over to him, misses, jumps into the fucking water, and then gets carried downstream. And he has to run down there and save her.
Fun fact, the woman that plays Justine actually almost drowned. That wasn't planned. And Eli Roth kept it in because it worked so well.
Here we go
she
again.
She actually
Holy
fucking
shit.
almost drowned during filming this scene. They shot it twice and she fell the second time.
Oh my God.
And actually went in the thing. Yep.
Holy shit.
I forget how they what happened to actually make them catch her and get her back. But
right.
Every
time people fell into water in this movie, I'm like, oh fuck piranhas, or oh fuck those parasites.
leeches, yeah.
Oh man. Freaky. So they do get back to the plane wreck, and when they do, there's torches everywhere, and there's all of the bodies of the people that died were up on pikes, almost
skewered.
like a shrine.
Right.
Oh man, gross. Daniel does find the GPS, but the battery's dead. However, Kara's phone isn't, so he has her climb up on his shoulders to dig the phone out, but then she notices, oh fuck, someone's coming. And she gets the phone, but jostles Kara enough to where then she falls down on top of her.
Tips over, right.
And she's like, oh my God, Daniel, help me. So he gets her out of there, but then only in time for them to both get darted again and taken back to the fucking village.
Right.
Great.
Very frustrating scene for me. I was thinking, you realize they're trying to retrace their steps, get back, try and find a way to contact somebody, but sure enough, they're caught immediately.
Yeah. And they made it so far.
Right.
Man. So then we go to Justine is once again tied up on what looks like an altar of some sort, but I think it's just a prep table, basically.
Right.
She's tied, her hands are tied above her legs are tied down below her, and she's getting oiled down while Daniel in the distance is being tortured.
Right.
Justine gets painted up all white, and then they start rubbing something on Daniel after the war chief breaks all of his limbs.
Yep. Daniel's tied to a stick after being captured, and they just beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, I think that is legitimately the purpose, is them breaking all of his limbs so he can't do anything. Then they rub that shit all over him, whatever it is, whatever it is, it attracts ants.
Right.
These fucking terrible looking CGI ants, by the way.
Right. I agree with that. It was not a good scene.
No. But yeah, he's basically eaten alive by the ants, or so you're led to believe until a little bit later. But, you know, even what you think may be his salvation doesn't last long. But Justine being all painted up for the sacrifice, there's basically another female genital mutilation threat when the tribal elder walks up with her little hook hand thing, and she goes to start to do that, and she's like, oh my god, no, please don't do it. She gets interrupted, thankfully, by another tribesman running in and saying, oh fuck, hey, we got another crew, which is good news for Justine because everybody goes away. And
Oh yeah, just barely saved her.
Mm-hmm.
Tribesman came in carrying the head
Yeah.
of a construction worker.
Yeah.
Had the hard hat on still.
Right. So that's when our little boy buddy comes up and he cuts Justine loose. Obviously recognizing she's in pain. She's, you know, not enjoying any of this. So this is where we get Justine's escape. So she gets her hands cut free. She leans forward and unties her legs. And then she goes back and kind of acts like she's still stuck in the thing. Because the person that's like preparing her,
The prepper.
yeah, like walks up with more of that like pass out dust.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the fancy powder.
Right. And so he goes to, or she rather, goes to blow it in her face, and Justine like pops up and smacks it into her own face, and then rips her fucking nose ring out.
Yeah, the giant bone
So
going through her nose.
Fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh god.
Had to have been a half an inch in diameter.
Oh, yeah.
Ripped directly out of her face.
I was gonna say, I don't think it like not only did it rip out of her nose, but also like her cheek parts.
Yeah.
Like there's like a couple other holes in the sides of her face. It's crazy. But yeah, that was pretty nuts. But she gets away at this point, which is when she realizes that Daniel is still alive. And she wants to help him out. He's like, fucking kill me. She's like, no, I can't do that. Obviously, I'm going to help you get out of here, which, no, you're fucking not. The boy is kind of guiding her at this point, and he knows better than her. He's like, this ain't fucking happening, lady. He's already too far gone. He blows more of that powder in Daniel's face to put him out, mercifully, because then he slits his throat to put him out of his misery.
Right.
Like,
So-
look, he's gone. You can't do this. I'll do it for him.
Right. So then Justine goes to run away, and Alejandro's like, Justine, help me. And she's like, fuck you. dude."
Right.
Yeah, dude.
Rightfully-
Absolutely not. Am I helping you?
Yeah, no
Rightfully so.
So the kid is like leading Justine to where she needs to be to escape. And he like holds her necklace back up to her like, oh, hey, don't forget this. And she's like, no, that's yours now.
Right.
Nice little thing for him. And this is about the time, as soon as she runs off, the other little girl is like pissed at the boy. She's like, you piece of shit.
Right.
I can't believe you let her go.
Letting our food go.
Right. So they go to chase her down along with the war chief, and she runs into, once again, we get the resurgence of the Black Jaguar, the guardian of nature, who the war chief assumes, oh, don't worry about it. Nature's about to take care of it for us. But no, the Black Jaguar doesn't do anything. She ends up getting past it and escaping legitimately. So she ends up stumbling upon the new site where there's a fucking battle going on between the militia and I don't know if it's
It's
it
a
must just
tribesman
be-
this time.
I don't know. I think it must just be the Peruvian like authorities.
It's the same militia.
Well, the militia is, yes, but are they fighting?
I thought it was the same scene.
They're the ones that end up saving her either way.
Right. So I thought it was the same scene from when they were chained up the first time, just at a different location because the new bulldozers were getting close to the village.
Okay.
And the guy that saves her was the guy that saved her the first time. It's the same guy, the little glasses
Right.
and gun. He recognizes her.
Yeah, she mentions, oh, hey, don't shoot, I'm an American. She holds up the phone. She's like, you, camera.
Right.
You, camera. Like, just quit doing whatever you're doing. You're already fucked. You're on camera. Basically stops them in their tracks, which is great. There's the one guy who walks up and he's like, "Are you sure there's no one else?" And she's like,
No.
"Nope, there's totally no one else. Definitely no Alejandros in cages back there." So yeah, she gets saved. We get the helicopter shot of her, being flown back off to America. And that's where we have our final scene of her with her dad and a couple of the other UN people. And she fucking is recounting the story, but completely fucking lies about the whole thing.
Right. And this part kind of confused me. She definitely says everybody died in the crash, says the tribe came and found her, kept her in good health, and helped her get out, which was the exact opposite of what happened, actually.
Yeah,
Well-
they knew I was lost and tried to help me.
She's trying to save the tribe.
She's, I think, A, trying to save the tribe, and B, trying to keep anyone else from going there to also get fucked up.
Yeah. That's how I took it. She didn't want anybody else to go back there. They did do their job, right, of being the activists to get the construction site shut down. And so she's like, yeah, the tribe, they're not going to hurt anybody, so just leave them alone, kind of a thing, So she was kind of still doing, what she wanted to do, or her agenda. So that's the way I took it.
For sure.
But also, yeah, she's just like, yeah, I was the only survivor, kind of a thing. Like, don't go back there.
Yeah, that all makes sense. We do get a weird, like, dream ending where we cut to Justine, I assumed, walking away from that meeting. But Alejandro, like, yells out to her, and all of a sudden he's fucking alive, and she turns around and she's, like, covering her mouth like she's freaked out, like, oh my God, how did you survive? And then, no, she fucking has, like, piranha teeth, and she fucking goes to bite him. But nope, it's a dream. She wakes up, and Casey's there, and everything's all happy again. So we get more activism going on outside with a new group, which they all have like Alejandro shirts on, which is weird.
Alejandro's face is on everybody's shirt.
Yeah, it's like a Che Guevara reference, basically. But so the one dude's running back and forth, and he's like, "Free Samara," whatever, and it shows an image of, the Samara that he's talking about, and then boom, we got our credits. And we don't have much of a credit sequence for long when we get a little bit of a stinger here. So basically a phone rings and we hear Justine's voice again. And she mentions something about there's an image on the screen, but it's like a satellite image, I think, of the area in Peru again.
Yep.
And she's like, "Hey, this is Alejandro's sister. We need to talk. I think my brother is still alive, and we got to go save him, basically." So, all right, here we fucking go again. Sequel setup,
shit.
right? Which you mentioned earlier that Eli Roth did indeed mention something about a sequel.
Yeah, there
possibly in the works.
was talks about it, but nothing since 2016. So I'm guessing that it just fizzled. But
Okay.
at one point, there was plans for a sequel of this.
For sure. I do want to mention real quick, we get, toward the end of the credits, we get a brief history of the Italian cannibal films, and there's like a whole list. It says something about, here's a brief history of the Italian cannibal genre and their many names, along with their directors and their many names, because they had to have all kinds of aliases and shit. So we get that. We get a special thanks to Brad Pitt for some reason. I don't really understand that. Maybe he was like producer in some capacity. But then they do thank the people of the Calanayacu region in Peru. We look forward to dining with you again very soon. Which I thought it was a nice way to sign off for sure.
For sure.
So yeah, man, we've reached the end. What do you guys think about it? All said and done.
I came out of this pretty high. Not,
So did the tribe.
Well, yeah, they did. Not 5 out of 5 or even 4 out of 5, I would say. But like, more on a 10 scale, I'd say it's a 6. I don't know if maybe my expectations were a little low. Just kind of going into it thinking it was going to be, not that it's not a gore fest, but there is a legitimate story to it. And
a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, exactly. Some important themes about, leaving alone these tribes that have lasted hundreds of years. So, yeah, man, I mean, it was good. I wasn't something that I would soon watch again, but I mean, I would show it to somebody as somebody who's into gore and stuff like that if they hadn't seen it. So,
yeah,
6 out of 10 for me.
Also cool that he actually went there to film it, like deeper into the jungle than anyone had ever gone, I guess, at that point. Not to mention a bunch of the crew had to be like life flighted out of there, for lack of a better term, for like snake bites and bug bites and stuff. And
well, I mean, and that they used an actual tribe. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how they were paid or whatever, but a lot of the tribal people they weren't actors, so they were just. That's cool on him to find a way to incorporate them.
Yeah, there was a mention also of Eli Roth going in to show them basically what movies were, what television was.
Right.
And they all thought it was fucking hilarious and it was the greatest thing they ever saw. So they were like happy to join in.
Well, he showed them Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he showed them Cannibal Holocaust, and it was mentioned that they were laughing and thinking that it was a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, this one was definitely pretty good for being a somewhat newer movie compared to some of the things that we watch. I'm thinking 7 out of 10 just because there's actually, maybe not the best story going on, but there's actually story there. And usually when you get into these cannibal films, there's not a whole lot of substance going on, you know. So I think Eli Roth did a really good job with this one.
Yeah, I was more impressed than I expected to be going in. Like I said, that one day where I kind of just had it on in the background. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Some of the dialogue is less than desirable. Obviously we were a little less mature back then. So I'm glad that we've developed at this point. You said 6, you said 7. I'm actually right in between you guys. I said 6.5 out of 10 sleep darts. The acting started off terrible, but it got better as it went on. But that's not the focus here. We've got great practical effects and gore. It's Eli Roth. That's what's on display.
Right.
Obviously. But I mean, I think it's worth a watch if you're into gore. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely. Check it out.
Yeah, and check out some of the other stuff too. Like Cannibal Holocaust is, not a super fun watch, but
it's something
relevant.
If you're big into horror, I feel like you need to kind of see everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's important to see where everything came from.
Right, for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's about going to wrap this up. Thank you once again for joining us. As always, you can contact us at cinebytespod@gmail.com. You can follow us at Cinebytespod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Once again, we do have YouTube in the works coming soon. So I think we're going to end up linking our RSS feed to that. You can also support the show if you feel so inclined at cinebytespod.buzzsprout.com. And until next time, everybody, as always, remember, dreams are fleeting. Only nightmares last forever. Follow your nightmares.
Boy.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
I bid you welcome.